We're going to be working on part 2 of session 2 in Flash. It starts on page 49 in your book. The first thing that we're going to do is insert a new scene. So we're going to go to the Apple pull down menu, choose insert, and then choose scene. We are going to be creating a hovercraft. So I am very quickly going to draw a hovercraft. Yours should be much better than mine. I'm just going to use some of the basic tools. I'm going to group it, so I'm going to select it all with the selection tool. I'm going to go to modify and group, and I am going to just leave it like that. We're not going to need the hovercraft again. I'm going to name layer 1 hovercraft. This might be slightly different than the instructions. I'm also going to add a new layer, and I'm going to name that background. I like to have everything separate. It's really important from this point forward that you make sure you have things on separate layers. You have to make sure that you're putting different elements on different layers. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my background. I am going to do kind of a two-pronged background. I am going to, I think I'm going to go with black, like some of the kids have done. And I'm going to draw part of my landmass. Now, I like to use the paintbrush tool because I feel like it's easier to fill sometimes. And it's okay if you go off the screen like I just did, it's going to look fine. Now, if I try to fill it with a paint bucket, it's going to fill my entire black background. So I'm just simply going to move this out of the way. I am going to fill my yellow mountainous area. Then I'm going to bring this back. Now, you might be concerned because it's covering up my hovercraft. You can change the order of the layers. So I'm going to click on background and drag it underneath hovercraft, and there I have my hovercraft. What I'm going to do is I am going to start moving my spaceship or my hovercraft across the screen. You are essentially going to be doing frame by frame animation. Now, I sometimes get confused, so I'm going to make sure I lock my background layer so I'm not accidentally doing things on the wrong layer. So I'm going to select my hovercraft, I'm going to move it, I'm going to hit F6 to add another keyframe. So I'm basically going to move it all across the screen like this. You should have a decent amount of frames. You shouldn't just have 6 moving it across. We want it to move kind of steadily. So I'm going down, moving it a little, hitting F6 each time. And then I'm going to have it go straight up before I have it go off the scene. Okay, so we have a couple more elements we need to add. We're going to add another layer, and this layer is going to be called the sign layer. So we're going to create a sign. You want to make sure you spell it right. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to draw my sign. You can do whatever colors you want. I'm just going to make sure that it shows up okay. So I'm going to do red. And I'm going to do my sign over here. This is kind of the stake part. And this is where my letters are going to be. Now, I'm going to name my sign Planet Tracy. Why am I naming it that? Because I want it to be short. Oops. You have several different things you could do. I'm going to change the font, hopefully making it fit, because it's not fitting real great. So I'm going to go up to text. I'm just going to come over here to the side and change it. I want something that's smaller so that it'll fit on my sign. Now, problem I have right now is that my letters are the same color as the sign. So I'm going to change it to be yellow. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to break apart, and that pulls each one of my letters apart. So I'm going to choose the P. What I want to do is I want to make sure that I have an individual letter selected. I'm then going to change the color of it. So I want to change it drastically, so I'm going to go to blue. And then I'm going to select the next frame, and I'm going to hit F6. You have to make sure that you have the next frame individually selected. You don't want them all selected. So basically, I'm going to change the color to blue. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to select the next frame. Then I'm going to hit F6. Excuse me. Select the letter. Change to blue. Choose the next frame. Hit F6, and I'm going to do that all the way across. Now, in my example, I'm only going to change the word planet. You need to change every letter of the name of your planet. So, in theory, you would go down, and I would change the rest of my name where it says Tracy. So, I'm going to hit F6, change the color of the E, change it to blue, select my next frame, hit F6, select the T, change the color to blue, select the next frame, hit F6. All right, so I basically have my sign. What's going to happen if I drag the playhead is you're going to see it's going to flash through the different colors, which is what we want. The very last thing I'm going to do is you're going to need to include what's called a rock figure. So I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to name this rock guy. I am going to draw my rock figure. I want him to show up. I think I'm going to go on with pink. I like to use the paintbrush. It's important that you make sure you have object drawing selected. We want him to be grouped together. I actually might go with an orangish color now that I'm on here. Having trouble finding the perfect color. Okay, so I'm going to draw the body of my rock guy. He's very unattractive. I'm going to color it. Our rock person should probably have some eyes. I'm going to worry about that in a second. I'm going to draw one arm. And I'm using the paintbrush tool. It doesn't mean that it's right. It's what I like to do because I like the way it works. And here's one arm. All right. And I'm going to draw a second arm. I feel like it kind of looks like Elvis's head with his weirdo hair. Okay, so there's that arm. I'm going to give my rock creature, whoops. And I need to get my picture back in place. I hate it when that happens. So I'm going to give my rock creature some eyes. Very basic. I'm going to make them black. And I'm going to give him a smiley face. Now, what I'm going to do is make the arm of the rock guy wave. And I could do either the left or the right. It doesn't make a difference. I have the arm selected. It's grouped. I need to go to the free transform tool. It's going to pop up this registration dot. I need to pop this or move this registration dot to where the arm meets the body. This is going to be the pivot point because essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to make the arm wave. So I basically have it selected. I'm going to kind of go up to the corner. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Same thing again. I need to choose the next frame, hit F6. I'm going to come back up here. I need to select the arm. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Select the next frame, hit F6. Now, I feel like the arm is kind of waved down, so I'm going to start going back up. So I'm going to select the arm. I'm going to have it go up a little bit. Oops, I think I resized it too. This thing can be a little touchy. And choose the next frame, hit F6. Choose the arm, rotate it up. Choose the next frame, F6. I'm going to have the arm go all the way up. I'm going to choose F6 again, and I'm going to have him go one more movement up. Whoops, maybe. All right, oops, I messed up. So I'm edit undoing, and I'm going to leave it like that. Now, we want the arm to continuously wave over and over. So I'm going to click on this first frame. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to click on the last frame I animated. I'm going to control click in between there, and I'm going to copy the frames. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to control click on the next available empty frame, and I'm going to paste the frames. And I'm going to do this until I get close to the end of my animation. So here's the end of my hovercraft moving. I can paste this probably a couple more times. So I'm control clicking, pasting the frames. I'm going to do this one more time. Control clicking, pasting the frames. All right. Same thing with my sign. I want it to play over and over. So I'm going to click on the first frame. I'm going to hold down the shift key to click on the last frame. And I'm going to control click in here and I'm going to copy the frames. Then the next available frame, I'm going to control click and I'm going to paste the frames again. And I'm going to do that basically till my animation is about the same length as the rest of it. All right, so if we've done everything properly, we should pretty much be able to make this play. And I have the slowest moving spaceship of all times. But there's our session 2, part 2.